Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, where me and Doogie are about to dissect Graham Potter's Chelsea woes. We've already chalked off this week's winners. It was Brentford, where we also talked about Arsenal and Arteta's Plan B a touch. So if you missed that episode, we made it live 2 or 3 hours ago. Go and check it out. We'd very much appreciate it. But alas, let's move on to Chelsea. Now, a 1-1 draw at the London Stadium wouldn't usually qualify Chelsea for our losers segment, but their form since football resumed after the World Cup has been alarming to say the least. So they've won just 2 of their last 13 Premier League matches, leaving them 9th in the table and 10 points off of top 4, while also crashing out of both domestic cup competitions. And despite an improved first half performance, let's say, against West Ham, a struggling West Ham, Thomas Tuchel was once again trending on Twitter following this fixture, with a lot of Chelsea fans pining for his return / bemoaning his sacking. Dukes, I want your thoughts on the game and on Potter's continued plight in general.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a lot of the complaints about him post-match were actually sort of personality-led. The fact he didn't seem infuriated by the Thomas Souček handball and just sort of meekly accepted it in his post-match press conference. And I think a lot of Chelsea fans obviously have a massive affection with Thomas Tuchel after his magnificent work there, getting them to numerous finals, obviously winning the Champions League, winning the Club World Cup. They were top of the world for a while, and that feels like a long time ago. But the problems of the end of his reign, a lack of penetration, a lack of chance creation, have carried over into Graham Potter's. I mean, on this occasion, they had 72% of the ball, but in the second half, they only created 0.15 XG.
Stinking.
They outshot West Ham 12-10, but the home side created marginally the better chances. And Havertz, he only had 1 shot. Mudryk and Madueke both failed to create a chance. I think Mudryk in particular looked lively on occasion, but they're still working out how to get the best out of him. And Madueke, this was his
or how to get the ball to him.
Yeah, true.
Seemingly refusing to pass to him.
Absolutely. And there is a growing frustration that this forward line, despite all the expenditure on it, obviously it will take time to gel, but it's just taking too long at the moment. They only scored 23 goals in the league. Only 7 sides have scored worse. They got the 6th worst record by XG. They've scored 3 fewer goals than Aston Villa, who haven't been ripping up any attacking statistics this season. There was a spell under Steven Gerrard when they couldn't buy a goal. They've scored 11 goals fewer than Fulham, who are a newly promoted side, obviously excelling this season, but that's really disappointing. And it's worth stressing that this wasn't the case against Liverpool. They created 1.8 XG, but 0 goals there. Against Fulham, 1.4 XG, 0 goals. So they definitely did enough to score there, but still, it's about putting the ball in the back of the net. And it feels like their their only real striking addition in the last 6, 7, 8 months or so has been Aubameyang, who's now out of the side, dropped from the Champions League squad, and Kai Havertz. We talked about it on Sunday Vibes. How much more time do you give it? It's just not working in that role. I think he probably has to play as a 10 to get the best out of him, or try and create more space for him in attacking areas like he used to get in Bayer Leverkusen in transition or so. It's worth saying though, it's not all doom and gloom. I think Badiashile has started excellently in his Chelsea career, but again, not in their Champions League squad. Seems like a bizarre decision now. Probably been their best centre-back since arriving. Enzo Fernandez, promising display. Great assist for the Felix goal. Felix was also unlucky, having another goal ruled out, of course. And Souček also had a goal ruled out as well. So VAR was busy on this occasion, but again, the crucial call at the end, Souček's handball. He's falling over, but he's already down. It's not even the proximity to him. It doesn't matter whether he's falling down. It clearly strikes his arm. Should have been a handball. And it just felt like on this occasion, with 5 January signings starting, that this would have been a great statement at the lunchtime kickoff with the eyes of the world watching for Potter's Chelsea to really start emerging. And I'm not sure we really saw it, Chris.
Yeah, I think that is the key thing, isn't it? That just such it's kind of, he's put his print on the side now. They're players that he wanted, he's asked for, but it didn't make a significant difference, particularly in the second half. Although he will take, I think, a lot of confidence and positivity from the way that Xiao Felix performed in this fixture. I mean, his 90 at a glance, fantastic. 8 crosses, pretty indicative of the dangerous areas he was picking up. Thought he was really elusive in this game. Gave Declan Rice in particular a real hard time when it came to marking him. 3 shots, 3 fouls won, 2 chances created, did the dirty stuff as well. So great to see he's up for it in that regard. That his red card didn't put him off. Does not mean he's shirking any tackles. 2 out of 3 complete, 8 out of 13 ground duels won. And if you look at his heat map, which will pop on screen right now for you, he was just everywhere. 66 touches, more than any other West Ham United player. I think 20 plus more than Madueke. Madueke and Mudryk obviously coming off in this fixture, so maybe not a fair comparison, but just adds pace, impetus and dynamism to that forward line that when they're without him, I mean, it's just so obvious. It's so lacking that they're a far inferior side, and that does not spell good news for Gallagher and Mount. I mean, how that sort of shakes out in the stats is he's the only player averaging over, I think, 2.5 shots per 90 at current. Admittedly, the stats are going to be a bit skewed because he's played a really limited amount of minutes, but he's already racked up the 4th highest expected goals amount, that's total, in the squad,
in the whole season.
And he's played 147 minutes this campaign.
That is damning.
Yeah, it is really damning. So if Potter does win over the fans before the season is out, this man, I assume, will play a prominent part. Feel fairly confident in stating that. So yeah, despite not being that impressed with Chelsea's second half performance, still impressed with his. Although I thought the first 20-30 minutes is probably the best spell they've had under Potter. The football was dominant. West Ham were sort of pinned back. They had a couple of goals disallowed, where Havertz maybe went a little bit early. So yeah, sort of 1 step forwards, 2 steps back at current for Potter, and I do feel for him because, like you said, he should have had more than 2 points from those aforementioned games against Fulham and against Liverpool. But let's move on to some bigger themes. And I mean, one thing they have left this season to compete for is the Champions League, Dukes. Can it be their salvation, this competition? Obviously, they've got Dortmund coming up. We're going to do some shows on Eurofootball Daily, aren't we? So worth plugging them. But what are your first thoughts?
Yeah, just quickly on the Eurofootball Daily shows, we are hopefully looking to bring back live streams at some stage to Eurofootball Daily. And if not, we'll definitely be doing loads of reaction pieces on Eurofootball Daily after all the big fixtures in the Champions League knockouts. We're starting tomorrow with Bayern Munich versus PSG. Nearly went blank there for a second. We're not doing one on Wednesday because there is the reaction to Arsenal Man City, but we'll be back next week, so get excited for those. But yeah, Chelsea in the Champions League, look, it's been a bit of a salvation for them at different points. Tuchel obviously won the Champions League when they weren't performing that well in the league when he took over. Roberto Di Matteo, of course, winning the Champions League when they were having a terrible league season. So I wouldn't rule out a deep Champions League run from Chelsea, but at the same time, they're playing against a Dortmund side who are playing with a lot of confidence at the moment. I think they've won 5 in a row in the Bundesliga. They've been excellent since the World Cup break. Sebastian Haller's back at full fitness now, one of the stories, well, the storyline of the season, to be totally honest, after coming back from testicular cancer. They've got Jamie Bino-Gittins, a young Englishman on the wing who's really starting to hit his straps as well. And Gio Reyna had a terrible World Cup, fell out with the coach, got his dad to complain about the coach, and he's now hitting his straps as well. So it's very, very exciting times. I think it'll be a really open game. We did our predictions on Eurofootball Daily for the Champions League knockouts last week, and we all went Dortmund, which was a bit of a shock.
Oh, wow. Right then. I mean, do you think, just to address the title question, the fans are being unfair with Graham Potter? Somewhat of a loaded question, as football Twitter doesn't tend to be the most patient of spheres. But has he done enough at current? Has enough progress been made to suggest that he should be afforded the time which seemingly the board are going to give him?
Yeah, I don't think they've been as bad as some of the results suggest, as we've intonated throughout this show. But at the same time, they've got to change. They've got to change quickly. You are the manager that is in charge of a side that has spent £600 million in the last 2 windows. Obviously, you weren't involved in the summer business, but that is still on your shoulders now. And we've got to see real improvements. They can't just finish 10 points off the top 4 as it stands. They've got to get closer to that. They've got to get through this Champions League tie, suggest as well. Otherwise, the pressure just really starts to build. And I feel sorry for him. I think he was the right appointment after Tuchel left, but I don't still think Tuchel should have been fired. So it's very difficult for him to really improve on a fan favourite instantly, and it just feels like the same problems from the reign before haven't really improved.
Yeah, and ominously for him, Brighton and Brentford show no signs of slowing down. Obviously edged their opposition this weekend on expected goals, so the gap between them and Chelsea could have been more significant had they got the rub of the green, but it's not, so maybe Chelsea can still peg them back. Chelsea fans, what are your expectations for the rest of the season? And Are Bowley and Clear Lake Capital right to be judging Potter by years rather than months? Personally, I think so. But what do you reckon? Let me know in the comments and I'll hit you back up in the first hour. And stay tuned because we're going to do a bonus clip on Southampton's search for a new top dog. Like this video, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and we'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.